All right, what's up everybody? Welcome to another episode of Ask North 40. Today we're going to be answering questions on bees and beekeeping, and we're going to go to some local experts to get the answers to those questions. All right guys, we got a question in from our customer service team here at North 40, and the question is, should I split my beehives, and if so, how should I do it? So we're actually going to go to our very own bee expert, Drew Steinberger. He has his own bees here in Great Falls, Montana. He's also a member of our local beekeeping community.
Hey guys, I'm Drew Steinberger. I'm on the North 40 Outfitters marketing team, and I'm a hobbyist beekeeper as well. The question about splitting hives and why I would split my hives is, there's a lot of different reasons you might want to split a hive. If your hive's getting too full and you think they might want to swarm naturally and you want to split that hive before they swarm and leave. That's a pretty easy reason. I mean, if your hive is getting so full and they're showing signs of possibly leaving, you don't want your bees to leave. You want to go ahead and split them and make more bees. So that's an easy reason to split. Sometimes people want to split hives just to start getting more in their apiary. That's personally why I would do it. If I've got two hives that wintered well and they're looking really robust, and I want to have more honey this year, or I want to, split those hives and I want to take them to another location, that would be the reason why I would do it, is just simply to have more bees. And then one of the easy ways to do that is, it's called a walkaway split. And essentially all a walkaway split is taking an existing hive that's really healthy, that's got a lot of bees in it, and splitting it into two different boxes or two different hive sets. It doesn't matter where the queen is. That's the nice part about the walkaway split, is you don't have to try and find her. You literally just take your two boxes. Like, so in the spring I'm going to have two deeps, and I'm going to take one and I'm going to move it off to one side, and I'm going to take the other one, I'm going to move it to another side. And what's great about that is the queen in the one hive is going to just be business as usual. She's just going to keep laying eggs, and they're just going to go on as business as usual. The other hive is going to realize that they're queenless, and they're going to go ahead and raise their own queen. So they'll raise their own queen, she'll go off and get bred, she'll come back and start making a new colony. It's obviously not fail-proof, but it is, it's a pretty good way to go ahead and do it, and it's usually pretty successful. So that's one reason why I would use the walkaway split, and those are a bunch of reasons why I would split a hive in general.
All right, so that was Drew's answer, but we're also going to go to Thomas Hopkins to go a little bit more in depth on this question.
Hello, I'm Thomas with BeeSpace LLC. BeeSpace is a provider of beekeeping equipment. We wholesale a full line of equipment to stores like North 40. So the first question is kind of a tricky one to answer. Should I split my hive, and how should I do it? There's a couple of different reasons why you'll want to split your hive. First reason that I'm going to go over is to prevent for swarming. So where you ask that, why do bees swarm and what are they doing? Well, bees are much like our body, okay? They're a super organism. So the individual bee that you have in the hive is not what spreads genetics. It's the hive as a whole. So you look at bees, there's like cells, okay? And if you take for splitting, that's how they actually reproduce. It's like a cell splitting away, and that's how they'll spread their genetics. The other way that they spread their genetics is through drones. They don't mate with drones from their own hives, and this will be key information when you get into wanting to split your hive and whether it's the right time to do it. If you have good drone population in the area, your queen will go out and fly and mate, and that's the other way that bees spread their genetics. So there's two different ways. The queen mates and they'll swarm. Now, if you want to stop swarming, which is practicing good husbandry, and you don't want to grow your hives, which is another reason why people will want to split, you can practice what's called checkerboarding. It's a technique that we utilize, and you'll do it in the early spring. And basically what you're doing is you're checkerboarding your frames, not your brood, but your frames. A good resource to go in to find more information about checkerboarding is on Honeybee Suites, which we'll provide a link to. So the other reason, like I said, that people will want to split their hives is if they want to grow their operation. So you'll go in and you'll create, just like it says, a split. Now, whether you're going to be able to create a split will depend a lot on the season. So you never want to split a brand new package that you buy. You never want to split a nuke because they're not strong enough to make it through the season. So it'll take that full season to go through for them to build up enough stores to make it through winter. You only want to split an overwinter hive. So one thing that'll make it a little bit easier for you as a brand new beekeeper is you'll want to make sure that you have access to a mated queen. You can do what's called a walkaway split, or there are different techniques to where you'll have the hive produce their own queen. But like I said, if you're brand new into it, I would recommend that you do source a queen. A great resource to find that would be connect to a commercial beekeeper in your area, connect with your local bee clubs, and they should be able to source a queen bee for you. Things that you'll want to watch out for is the time of year that you're going to do it. You'll probably be splitting your hive, if you're going to do that, at the beginning of June. And depending on your area, it's a little bit colder up here where we're at filming this in Montana, so it could be a little bit later in the year. And there's people that will make splits into July, depending on where they're at and what their reasonings are for. But you'll want to make sure that you either have a queen the later you get to do splits. So you'll have a mated queen. You don't want to let them grow them, because that process that it takes and the time to get a queen mated and actually laying again can be detrimental to your success. Make sure that you have at least 8 to 10 strong frames of brood if you're going to do it. Once again, make sure that you have a strong laying queen, that she's that the hive's queen right when you're going to do it. Make sure that you have good drone population. I talked about that on how they spread their genetics. If you do an inspection on your hive and you see good drone population in there, then you're going to know that there's probably good drone population out, and it's safe to do it. If the new queen that's produced doesn't have any drones to mate with, which are male bees, then she's going to come back infertile and you won't have a successful split. Another thing, it's always recommended that you start with 2 hives. And the reason why that is so you can kind of pull from one and go from another. If your split's unsuccessful and you're out there watching it, you can combine those hives back together. And there's techniques to do that as well. So as long as you're making sure that you're not taking too much resources away from the bees when you do your split, you can always kind of come back and you won't be any worse off than you were.
All right, the second concern that Mr. Hopkins is going to help us address today, we got another question in from our customer service team. They were saying that their queen bee is only laying drone cells, and does that mean that the queen bee is infertile? And if so, what can they do about it?
Okay, so we have another question from out there in North 40 land. Somebody asked, my queen seems to be laying drone brood. Should I be worried about it, and do I need to replace her? The simple question to that is yes. If your queen is a drone layer, you're going to want to replace her. There's different signs that you can look at to see if your queen is failing. One of the main things that you'll look at is when you get into your hive to do an inspection, you're going to pop it open. If they're really buzzy and ornery, and you'll hear an audible difference in the hive's temperament, they'll start bouncing off you real quick. That could mean that your queen is failing. With that, if your queen's failing, the bees just they won't stay focused because they realize that something's wrong. If your queen is doing good, then they're just going to stay focused on bringing in resources and making sure that hive builds up for to prepare for wintertime. Another sign that you'll see that if your queen is starting to fail is when you get into your hive and you look at the pattern, the brood pattern that she's laying. If she has a really nice tight brood pattern and every cell in the frame that you pulled out is full of brood and capped, then that means that she's got a really nice laying pattern, and you're probably okay. You're going to want to look also to make sure that you're seeing eggs in all 3 stages of life. So you'll see eggs, larvae, cap, brood, every stage of life. You know that you have a good laying queen if you're seeing eggs in there because they've been laid within 3 days. So when you get in there, if you're not seeing a tight brood pattern and you're starting to see what they call a shotgun pattern, that's just picture a piece of paper that's been shot from a ways away by a shotgun and it's just got holes kind of spread all the way around it, that means that the queen's starting to fail and you'll want to look to replace her. You're going to do that the same way that you did when you installed a package. You're going to have to source a queen, and by that time you're not going to be able to grow another queen from your hive. So you're either going to have to source a queen and introduce it to the hive, or if you have two hives, like we talked about, that you need to have two hives to start, you could pull a frame of eggs and brood, make sure there's an egg in there from your other hive, and put it in this hive, and they could produce another queen from that. Your best bet is to be able to source a queen. Sometimes you don't have that option. If it's too weak and at a certain point that hive is too far gone, it won't even be worth it to pull another frame of eggs and try to have them produce another hive. You'll just want to combine the hives together. On that Honeybee Suites link that we've provided to you, there's some good information on there on how to combine hives. We'll be going over this in our tutorials throughout the season that we're going to be providing to you guys. So make sure that you connect and stay tuned with North 40, and we'll keep it going.
All right, thanks for watching this episode of Ask North 40. Use the hashtag AskNorth40 on any of your favorite social media platforms to ask a question so we can answer it on the show. Please subscribe to our channel on YouTube at North 40 Outfitters, and stay tuned for next week's episode.
Are you recording this, guys? Yeah, good. So the queen will take